meeting for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Director Vasquez?
Here.
Director Blazer?
Here.
Director Fuhr?
Yes.
Director Bradford?
Here.
Director Fletcher?
Here.
Okay, and Director Matthews and Hasty are attending virtually.
Okay, great. Director Blazer, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next up is public comment. Can you please read that, Mandy?
Of course. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Board of Directors on any subject matter that is not on the meeting agenda and is within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. Public comment periods are limited to 3 minutes per person, and the total amount of time for public comment is 15 minutes. Persons participating by the way of a video conference or teleconference shall ensure their audio is muted at all times, except when the board chair announces public comment periods. At those designated times, members of the public wishing to speak shall enable their audio and state their name for the record. When multiple members of the public wish to speak, the clerk will determine the order of speakers and announce their names accordingly. To ensure proper conduct, the board reserves the right to mute the audio and video of any member of the public violating generally accepted principles and decorum of official public meetings.
Great. Thank you, Mandy. We'll start with in the room, Ms. Corson.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Donna Corson. I live in Dobbins. I think you have copies that were emailed to you of my letter. The 2 attached letters were found this weekend while browsing the internet. Without any public notice, North Yuba Water District applied to the California Natural Resources Agency for a CEQA laws exemption to expedite the building of their overground plastic pipe. The exemption was granted. As expected, the wording and presentation of North Yuba Water District's request was eloquent and looked good on paper. However, the letter includes many misleading statements and presents numbers unfounded in facts. No substantial data exists to back up their request. Specifically, it was left unmentioned that South Feather Water and Power Agency and Yuba Water Agency have offered to fix all existing and imagined problems while conveying irrigation water to the customers at no cost, an offer that was ignored by North Yuba Water District. What North Yuba Water District emphasized in the letter to the California Natural Resources Authority was that the aforementioned pipe leaves plenty of unused and surplus water that then will be available for transfer to districts further south. According to these letters, North Yuba Water District intends to start pipe construction in the coming fall, i.e. now. Of course, the public knows nothing of these plans. No board action was taken and nothing was on any agenda. It was by chance that we found these letters. Now that you know what is happening behind the scenes, I hope that is still in your interest to prevent our county water from being diverted elsewhere. Once this pipe is built, designed for fitting only 3,700 acre feet, we are unlikely to ever enjoy the water development that was promised in the 2005 agreement. Access to 15,500 acre feet water rights will be lost and will, IMHO, soon be property of the Delta Water Districts. Without irrigation water, our foothill communities will dry out and have to truck in food from the valley floor. Wells will continue to dry out, property values will continue to drop, and economic development with a vibrant local food scene will never happen. We hope that you can find a way to save our communities from wilting. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Corson. Next up, we have Marike.
To the chair. Is this within the board jurisdiction?
I think it could be, yeah, since it's water supply within the county. So.
Yeah, I mean, so Council asked if he needed to be at the meeting today. Since we only had one item, we declined to have Dick drive from Sacramento to be here. However, I would interpret this as water use in Yuba County or water development in Yuba County. So therefore it is within the Yuba Water Agency jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, this is Marika Fernay, Oregon House. Thank you for your time. I want to give you a little piece of my heart. In my view, your offer to North Yuba, combined with South Feather that you did in June, was such a much better deal for the customers and residents of Oregon House, Dobbins, and Brownsville, because you promised or you offered a way to fix the ditch while creating real measurements, real data measurements of where everything leaks, how it does, how much in real time. This is actually data that North Yuba doesn't have. North Yuba works, at least it's not in the public record. I looked, and it seems that it works mostly on back of the envelope calculations. So you measuring where the leaks are in real time, and then the fixing is anticipated or was anticipated in your offer to take a few months. The costs were anticipated to take a few $100K, and it would lead, again, as anticipated, to 3 or 4 times the amount of water that North Yuba customers historically had access to. That sounds much more attractive than the restrictive pipeline from North Yuba. That pipeline leads, as Donna explains, only to big water sales outside the county, and your plan could lead to expanded a local food scene and a much better quality of life for all of us. So it would lead to working together for a sustainable future, and I didn't give up hope. I hope that's still working. Thank you.
Thank you, Marika. Any additional public comment in the room? Okay, seeing none. Any public comment on Zoom? Okay.
No, not at this time.
I don't see any. Great. Thank you. So, oh, the mouse. Okay. So next we will move on to consent items. So
Move to approve.
okay, I have a first
Second.
and a second. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none. Is there any board comment on the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. Next, we will move on to discussion items. Item 3, receive the annual dam safety update by Tim Truong, Chief Dam Safety Engineer. Morning, Tim.
Good morning, directors. All right, thank you for allowing me this time to present the update on the dam safety program. So in the past, I've tried to make the presentation more visually engaging. However, this year I've decided to take the Steve Jobs route and go with a minimalistic approach, partly due to some of the contents of the presentation. Highlights for the program highlights and what the agenda for today's topic. We'll be going over some project updates. Recently, our own Owner's Dam Safety Program assessment, the vulnerability security assessment, and the new Part 12D. Also, I forgot to update this slide, but I will also be reviewing our emergency management program. So within the last year or so, we've completed a couple of projects at New Bullets Bar Dam. Firstly, fall of last year and fall of 2021, we completed the spillway repair at rows 3 and 4 right there on the left side of the picture, or the left picture. That was, we found that back in 2017 during the spillway inspection that that region had a lot of repairs, and we found a lot of areas of delamination or separation of layers in the concrete, and this project basically chipped out all those, the whole entire row, and we backfilled it with fresh concrete to remove that delamination. So that was completed for around 644,000 total. And then, but the fall last year through late winter, early spring, we also completed a foundation drainage program inside the dam where we drilled new foundation drains like the one you see in the middle picture there to supplement some of the ones that were originally planned for the dam that were clogged due to construction. Also, some of the drains also alleviated some localized uplift pressure in a few areas as well. And we also installed, I believe, 11 new uplift pressure gauges as well. So that project was completed in February and for a total cost of around 2.1 million. And then lastly, we have a project right now that's currently ongoing to upgrade our surveying prisms for New Boys Bar Dam. And this is to not really replace, but to supplement the original 13 survey targets on the face with over 80 new survey prisms and an automated total station that will turn on by itself and survey all those new prisms on the downstream face. So we have a more comprehensive coverage of the movement and any deflections in the dam. So the construction itself is more or less complete. You know, we're working on some final parts of the enclosure where it houses the new total station unit. But all the prisms are now installed on the dam. So if you walk out there, they'll might be a little hard to see, but you can you look closely. They're there. Total cost is still to be determined because the project has not been completed yet. We expect that to be completed probably around end of October. So the Owner's Dam Safety Program Assessment, this is a 5-year requirement from the FERC, or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, for us to do basically an audit of our dam safety program. We hired a consultant from Mead and Hunt to come assess our program. She has had experience with working as an inspector for FERC and as an engineer for FERC for a couple of years. She worked with SMUD before that. She's worked at Tacoma Power up in Seattle with a different FERC engineering region. And now she currently works in Mead and Hunt. So she has a vast, broad range of experience in the industry, looking at the dam safety from various perspectives. She came in a couple of days and interviewed various levels of staff from our general manager down to the operator and maintainers, and make sure that they understand our dam safety program, or if they don't, what areas of improvement we may have. And the report's still ongoing, but we did conduct kind of an outbrief with her, get her take on her initial take on the program. And the words out of her mouth was that she was looking to see if we were hiring. So the initial response is that our dam safety program looks pretty good. We're still waiting on the final report. We're also working on our emergency management update. So this was one of the recommendations that came out of the emergency action plan exercise in 2020, was to we really need to review how we conduct, how we respond to an emergency outside just the dam itself. So we have an emergency action plan that's been reviewed and approved by both the FERC and the state. However, that mainly focuses on the dam. And one of the things that we found, one of the gaps we found, is that we don't really have we can improve upon our emergency response for other emergency outside just the dams: fire, earthquake, flood, active shooter, various other scenarios. So we're currently working on developing that document. It's probably 90% complete. We conducted a tabletop exercise of the new document back in September 7th. That went fairly well, so that everybody up to speed on our new response process and organizational emergency organizational structure during an emergency. That's an ongoing project. You know, it's going to really help us to respond to these emergency outside just the dams, like the Rice's fire we had a couple of months ago. And then we also are just completed vulnerability and security assessment. So this is also a very important aspect of the dam safety program that gets overlooked a lot, because when you think of dam safety program, you think of Yuba-Sutter Dam, you think of the instrumentation, you think of the projects that we do to improve the dam. But there are a lot of other aspects in the dam safety program that needs to be reviewed and looked at, such as security, public safety, emergency management. And this is one of the items that tends to get overlooked, but very important to the dam safety program. This is also another requirement by the FERC to conduct an assessment every 5 years of the vulnerability of our entire project, from the dams to the powerhouse and any security gaps that we may have. So that was completed about a few weeks ago. We do have recommendations from that. Obviously, I can't share those recommendations here in the public forum, but we are working to review those recommendations and see what we can implement from that. So that's an ongoing process as well, similar to the emergency management plan. But the core of the summary of the assessment was that all of our security scores were below kind of the threshold that they were looking at in terms of, hey, there's a threshold to look at that in terms of you need to take actions on these items, and all of our structures and our security scores were below that threshold. So we're doing very well in that aspect as well. There are things we do to improve, but that could be said of anywhere. And then lastly, I just wanted to update the board on a very important update from the FERC on the dam safety program itself. Back in the spring of this year, the FERC came out with a new Part 12D inspection requirement. This is the inspection where the FERC requires an independent consultant to come out and review your entire dam safety program, from the dams to the powerhouse, basically entire your license, to determine if it's meeting requirements. Before it was basically one person that comes out to do the inspection, but now they've changed it to have a team of independent consultants to come out and do an inspection. The new requirements also split the inspection into two categories. You have a comprehensive assessment and a periodic assessment. Both are on alternating 5-year cycles. The comprehensive assessment is intended to be a deep dive into the history of the project, the design basis of all the dams and structures, the reviewing all the programs and plans. You're doing a failure mode analysis. And the big thing, the big and new thing for this comprehensive assessment is a level 2 risk assessment, where we have to assess basically risks of these failure modes and the features, and rate them and score them, and determine if any actions needed from that. Whereas a periodic assessment, it's more basic. We don't do a PFMA during a periodic, and we don't do a risk assessment. Now, part of the reason I bring this up is because this is a big change to the industry. So it's very exhaustive in terms of the amount of work that's involved. I've talked with my peers from other projects and other companies. Some of them have this new comprehensive assessment coming up. There's a lot of work that needs to be involved, and I'm trying to prepare us for that as well. But there's also a lot of costs that's involved in this new comprehensive assessment as well. Other owners have said anywhere from 3 to 10 times the cost of their last 12. So for perspective, our last Part 12 in 2020, I think the total cost was around $300,000. To give this perspective. Where this new one's going to land, we don't know until we actually get there. their FERC is going to provide an inspection schedule. They're hoping to provide an inspection schedule by the end of the year. So we should have an idea of where our dam's inspection schedule lands. But that's kind of more or less giving information to the board right now to prepare you for the next Part 12, which is due in 2025 for us. And that's it for the dam safety update this year. Any questions?
I have a couple. Can we go back one slide?
Yeah.
And just curiosity. So the probable failure mode, I see this was probable failure of our dam is that we have a typhoon type water situation, or what is the most probable failure? Like you had to see some of the top 3 reasons our dam failed.
The probable failure mode, they go through, so the process is we sit down for a little background. We sit down as a team of various subject matter experts and review different types of failure modes that can happen and go through the progression. And the prior process back in 2020 was we rate those failure modes on 4 different categories. Category 1 is like the highest likelihood. Category 2 is likely. Category 3 was we needed more information, so kind of unknown. Category 4 was no likelihood or very low likelihood. We had in 2020, we had 0 category 1s. We had, I think I don't remember the exact number. I want to say like maybe 10 plus categories 2s, 4 or 5 categories 3. I probably shouldn't be shouting out those numbers right now because that's probably inaccurate. But yeah. But that whole category process is changing for the new failure mode analysis as well. They're coming up with different quote unquote categories. But I guess going back, if you go back to 2015, we had category 1, which was changed to category 2 in 2020 based on information, and that was the failure of the gates.
And so if we had catastrophic failure of some sort, I'm on the Orville Dam Citizen Committee Advisory Board, and then I, of course, Folsom is a big deal in people's public consciousness. Our inundation situation, if our dam failed, isn't nearly as severe as either of those two. Do we have inundation maps that we make for situations of that sort of thing, or do we worry about that type of scenario?
We do have inundation maps for all of our dams. So as part of the emergency action plan, there are inundation maps associated with the failure of New Bullets Bar, I guess all of our dams, Log Cabin, and our house as well. So with the California state requirement, they also came out with one of the recommendations to have failure maps of spillway as well. So so now we have an inundation map of failure of just a spillway as well. So for your awareness, most of our inundation maps can also be found on the State Division of Safety of Dams website. They have a website there. It's a public-facing website. Anybody can access it, and you can select the dam and see the inundation map of various dams. They don't provide the inundation maps for significant up to extremely high hazard dams on the site. I think low hazard dams are not going on that website.
Through the chair. So Tim, over the last few years, 5-6 years, you've done a tremendous job in keeping the board informed and staying on top of the dam. So thank you very much for what you do. Extremely valuable, as you well know. One of the quick questions in your emergency management program, do you work closely with the county OES, Sheriff's Department, Public Works, in the event that there were some type of an incident, that they're somewhat informed as to how they would fit into that puzzle?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is a little more complicated.
Sure.
But we do coordinate with the county OES and the sheriff for our emergency response and notifications. That's one of the things that we're trying to incorporate in our emergency response plan as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any additional questions from the board or comments? Okay. Any comments from the public on this item? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much, Tim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will move on to the manager's report.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Chair Bradford. So the annual dam safety report is an opportunity for you all to see what Tim has going on with all the programs and policies and procedures we have in place for the dam. Tim, thanks for the Steve Jobs minimalist. I know you in years past you put together very detailed presentations. This was perfect. Not that we don't want to see that, but thanks for that. I would just, encourage you to, constantly ask me about our dam. It's the one asset we have. It's the most important asset we have, both from, a financial and resource asset, but also from, risk management as well. So, we try to stand Tim up at least in front of you annually, so you can ask him questions, but periodically when we have other projects to report on, we put him in front of you as well. So we want to be as transparent as possible with the safety of our dam, and that's the intent here today. Okay, with that, I'll jump into my report. Water behind the dam is in good shape. We're over 100% of average year to date. We're on target to meet our end of year carryover target, which is at the end of this month. So we're looking good there. We had a little more generation in both July and August than we forecast. That was primarily due to rains that we got late in the spring that we didn't anticipate receiving. So a little bit more generation, and the market was a little bit better than we anticipated. So let's see here. In July, our forecast was $8.2 million in revenue, and we actually got 13. And in August, our anticipated revenue was 7.9, and we got 16. And I'll say that the August market conditions were greater than we anticipated. I don't have the detailed numbers for the heat event that we experienced. Primarily, the record days were September 6th through 8th. It takes a couple weeks to settle all that out, but I do know in the day-ahead trading, both the 6th, or all three, the 6th, 7th, and 8th, we had record day-ahead sales revenue. Those 3 days. Each day broke the previous day's record, which first day broke a couple years ago's record. So, not unanticipated. When we saw this heat event coming, we managed the water to maximize generation as Cal ISO requested. We increased a little bit of generation at Narrows 2. We did everything we could to maximize generation output to help the grid. We received multiple phone calls from the Cal ISO and Department of Water Resources, just verifying that we've had the conversations and have managed to do everything we could to help the grid. So I believe we did everything we could. Units stayed online, and we got through it, and the state got through it. And that was a significant event. I think what I saw was we haven't had a heat event like that since 1988. With all that said, Shell Energy has been our scheduling coordinator since the power purchase agreement with PG&E ended in 2016. They've done a great job for us. After about the first year and a half of that initial contract, the market conditions changed and we revised the agreement slightly in 2018. So we've been operating under the same agreement since 2018, and we think it's prudent at this point in time to send out a request for qualifications, which will be followed by a request for proposal for either Shell or any other entity to become our scheduling coordinator. We're basically doing our due diligence to see if the market has changed enough or other relationships have developed out in the power generation or power sales markets where we should establish a different relationship either with Shell or anyone else. Shell is well aware of what we're planning, and we're planning to send the initial RFQ out next week. So you'll hear more about this. We don't know exactly how this will unfold, but we think it's the time to reassess how we sell and market our power and the relationships with those that we trade with. Like Tim said, we participated in the emergency response plan exercise here last week. That went really well. As part of our annual testing or our annual dam maintenance, we have to test the spill gates. We did that successfully last week, opened and closed the gates, did the maintenance on them. Sounds like an easy thing to do, but scheduling the work, and these are monster gates that require a lot of maintenance, and it takes a while to open and close them. We did that successfully last week. Narrows 2 tripped offline on Sunday due to a PG&E transmission line event. Everything operated somewhat normally and flows were restored in the river quickly. We had no violation and minimal loss generation due to the powerhouse tripping. It was at a very low load due to the low flows this time of year. And that unit is scheduled to be out for annual maintenance October 3rd through the 31st. Otherwise, all our units are online and performing well. Over the last couple of days, we've seen a ½ inch to an inch and a half of rain in the watershed, and it's been very concentrated. Yesterday, I was on a field tour and I was driving through Oregon House, and I was in a storm, major hail and precipitation that you couldn't really even drive through. And then literally 7 minutes later, I was at the Colgate Powerhouse and it was beautifully sunny. And I asked the security guy there, hey, has it rained here yet? And he said, it hasn't rained in several hours. So it was one of those types of storms. Like I said, anywhere from ½ inch to an inch and a half fell in the watershed, and we could get a little bit more through mid-morning tomorrow. And then it's forecast to warm up to, seasonal highs. We're still in a drought. The mosquito fire in the American River drainage has burned about 75,000 acres. The last reports I've read is this precipitation has really helped firefighting efforts there. The fire is definitely not out, but evacuees are allowed to repopulate in many of the areas. But, given the size of the fire and the fact that, the weather's going to turn back around to hot and dry, this fire is not over by any means, but obviously this precipitation has helped big time. I have been in contact just generally with Andy Fecco, the general manager of Placer County Water Agency, just saying, hey, if you need anything, let us know. I haven't heard back from him. I know this fire is definitely impacting their operations and their facilities. It's kind of dead center in the middle of their project. They're experienced at this. In 2014, they experienced the King Fire, which burned about half of their upper watershed. This is unfortunate that, this is going to cause impacts on their system. And, this is one of the primary reasons we participate in our forest health management activities is to try to mitigate effects of fires like this. And I just bring this up because it is impacting a sister agency, Placer County Water Agency. Okay. On Friday morning, KCRA gave Bullard's Bar a priceless shout out for our water levels. During a live shot boating on Folsom, the reporter, Brian Hickey, said that he was probably going to tow his boat to Bullard's after seeing how much water we still have. We also had great coverage in the Appeal Democrat last weekend about our participation on Friday in the Yuba River cleanup. And we had 15 employees down at the river for 3 hours, and we cleaned up a bunch of garbage. I want to thank everyone who participated. It was a great time, not only to clean up the river, but to hang out with some employees that I don't get to hang out on a normal basis. Last Friday, we also sponsored Sodbusters for Marysville Rotary Club. We also sponsored the Marysville Stampede over the weekend. This coming weekend, we're sponsoring Hogs and Hulas for the Marysville Kiwanis Club, the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank's dinner on the 30th, and we're sponsoring the Pink October Walk, as well as walking and fundraising in honor of one of our employees who is currently fighting breast cancer, Joanna Lassard. If you'd like to walk with us or donate to our team, please reach out to Mandy or Dee Dee. We are officially on Instagram, so if any of you are on Instagram, Director Bradford, Dee Dee called you out on this one. Please follow us at Yuba Water. And finally, at the recent California Public Information Officers Association conference, our communications team was awarded the Award of Distinction for their internal communication strategy and implementation. And I don't believe Dee Dee's here, but Dee Dee, you're online. Alex and Bonnie are here. Congratulations on the award. Wonderful work. And thanks, Dee Dee. Upcoming meetings. On October 4th, we have our regular Board of Directors meeting and an ABP and POD meeting as well. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to board member reports. Director Matthews, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Director Fletcher?
So this last week, unfortunately, most of the board wasn't able to participate in the cleanup because we were at the RCRC conference. And one of the speakers that was at that conference spent a fair amount of time talking about the bike trails in the foothills, Lost Sierra. They're also looking for sponsors. And how could we connect and work with them around Bullard's Bar, the opportunities that are out there? It was very interesting. I can tell you that Public Works is somewhat interested, the county is interested, and maybe the agency might want to take a close look at how we could work together and be a benefit to their program, our potential, and what it would mean to the county. So other than that, that's it.
Great, thank you. Director Vasquez? Director Blazer?
Just following up on what Randy said about the single track bike trails. That's a wonderful project, and I think somewhere up here in the Yuba foothills, we'd be a good candidate for that. They're working on about 600 miles, I think, as I can tell. Ellis Lake, that recent meeting is going to be rescheduled, so that's still kind of fuzzy on what we're going to do there. Thanks.
Okay, Director Fuhr?
I know staff gets tired of me gushing and complimenting them all the time. And so I've been holding back, but this week you guys have impressed me all once again. And I see you outside of the normal work venue, and I've really enjoyed it. So we had hydrologists at Say Love. I had lovely ladies from accounting at Sodbusters that were very engaging. But one lady stood out this week, and that was Jackie Silman. She jumped on a drama grenade and took a bullet for the food bank. That was appreciated. And so just in various aspects outside of work, I really do see you guys doing a lot. I found out that our director, Willie Wilsey, married up. And so that worked out well. And so we had a great time. And so I just really want to say, I just really appreciate everyone, all they do. Tim, one piece of constructive criticism. When you show a hole in the cement that somebody could drill and you put $2 million for it, it makes me hurt a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to have Dee Dee do that really cool animation where she shows the dam bursting and everyone dying, and that hole saved us all. And then $2 million and I'm okay. But just the hole with $2 million, the Steve Jobs there is like, cringe. All right.
Thank you, Director Fuhr. Congratulations to the communications team on your award, and thank our employees for your work on the river cleanup. It's appreciated, and shout out to John James for the rain. If you can, keep this going all winter, I'm sure we'd appreciate it. So, and turning down the heat is also good. So that's it for me. Any other comments from staff? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.